E te iwi tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, I roto I tēnei pō. Kia ora everybody, Che Wilson here from Te Pai Pai Waho, and really good to be back. And e mihi ana kia tātou, I roto I ngā ahuatanga o te wā. So mindful that I was out of action last week due to a tangi, but we're starting a new theme tonight, and as part of that new theme, the new theme is talking about whānau reunions. And what I've realised when I've received all of the different feedback is there are a heap of different things that people are really interested in. And so going to talk about whānau reunions tonight, and mihi to everybody that's cross-posted through and linking in through the different other pages as well. Nō reira tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou, kia karakia tātou. Karanga kia rangi nui e tui honei, karanga kia papea takutua ke nei. Te putanga o te kōrero, te putanga o te wānanga, ka puta ki wao ki te whai au ki te ao mārama, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora tātou. So, as I said, it's Che Wilson here from Te Pai Pai Waho, linking into a number of different pages as we share tupuna wisdom with you all, wherever you're based around the country and around the world. Nā reira tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou. Before I get into things, just an overview of some of the things that I'll be covering through this session of whānau reunions, and I think I'm going to have 5 sessions, but we'll just see how that grows depending on questions. But before I do that, just want to acknowledge all of those that have lost people in the last week. Last Tuesday I was at a tangi in Pātea for the brother Archie Hurunui, and so wasn't able to stream that night, but also acknowledge Uncle Hami Tuatani, who's returned back to Raitihi tonight, or today, and also Uncle Raymond Rapana, who's returning home to Raitihi as well, to Mangamingi. Nō reira koutou ngā mate, puta noa, I te motu I te ao, e moe, oki mai rā. Hoki tonu mai kia tātou, ngā mahu e tangi iho, e mihi nei, e tangi nei kia ora tātou. So before I get into the whānau reunion kaupapa, just want to be a big shout out to the team that graduated at UC last week for the Māori, the Masters in Māori and Indigenous Leadership. Calvin, koutou katoa, tēnā rawā te koutou. Always beautiful to see people graduate and all of the pride that comes through the graduation for them and their whānau. So big mihi to you all. Also want to mihi to the team at Ariki Creative. The last 2 sessions I had was on Waihiko, the new atua we created about electricity, and we'll be covering more on that later on. Whānau. Also want to acknowledge my cousin Dave, who's there and downstairs, having a catch up with him, and he probably doesn't even want me to refer to him, so I thought I would. Kati, let's get into the kaupapa. And so tonight's an introduction to the theme, and then next week I'll cover whakapapa and the different things that we do to prepare whakapapa, and then in addition to that, how different people have addressed whakapapa for their whānau reunions. And then this next theme after that will be around history, waiata tikanga, and visiting wāhi tapu wāhi tūpuna. And the final theme will be on groupings and how you mix everything up so people can get to know each other, sports, all of those different things. But also something that cousin Dave said to me just downstairs was, there's often a big focus on trying to give your kids what you never had, but we should also be giving them what we did have, and that was a heap of kazi time. And so we'll be talking about those different things and how we create groups to run not only the chores and sports, but also to ensure that we get mixed up well rather than staying in your comfort zones. And then the last session will be a wrap up. So I think that's the 5 sessions we're going to cover, unless I get different feedback. Ka te ake. Let's go into these different kaupapa. So just a brief one on whakapapa. The obvious one is definitely a whakapapa book, and I'll talk more about that in detail. But also just sharing, and you might want to make a little tune so that you can share some basic lines with your family, and to focus in on whoever the ancestor is down to all of you. I'm going to cover that in more detail in its own separate session next week. But the other thing is that for many families, it's a good chance to teach history, waiata, tikanga, and go and visit special places associated with your whānau. And what's important about that is it's a good chance to train whānau for the times when you'll need to look after the marae yourselves when you have tangi, and or what to do when you have to go back and support your other whānau that looked after you during your whānau tangi. And so it's a good chance to train and never lose a good moment to grow each other and teach each other. And then the final part is all of the whānau activities and group activities, because I'm mindful that because we're naturally competitive, there will always be sports, and it's really good to mix the families up. And my first cousins and their northern side, they've got these groups, and they're always getting cheeky to each other about their different colour. And there are others that do similar things. But the other good thing about the group activities is it stops families from subtribing, especially if your marae is small. And so some of you might have to go and stay at a hotel or go and stay at some of the whānau houses. So it's really easy for people to subtribe. But if you have these activities, it forces people to always be there together to do things, to save the subtribing and to save people not wanting to connect. And what it does do is it just helps grow that kazi time. And so I'm going to work out a few things to share with you all over the next little while, because whānau reunions are always a great opportunity to grow ourselves, to teach kōrero, but also just to keep it simple. I know at one stage I've done a book where I probably put too much in, and then have done others where it's been just right. The other really cool thing is because you can go back to at least the 1860s, 1870s for photographs. So some families, you'll be lucky because you can do a photograph for each of your tupuna, and then it's a pictorial thing rather than just words on a piece of paper. So these are all of the different kaupapa I'm going to talk about, starting next week with whakapapa, then the week after, history, tikanga, waiata, etc. And then the week after that, going into group activities and the different things that you could be doing to help grow yourselves. So to all of you linking in on the different pages, e mihi atu ana kia koutou I roto I tēnei pō. Take care, stay safe, be well, and stay warm because it's got a little bit cold. Ka te ake tēnā koutou, rire hau, pai mārire.